All glory is given to God. So if you remember some weeks ago, I wrote up a list of terms and words that we use here at their center and say that I'd talk about it. And I put them on the flip chart. And then I also said I'd written so small that I needed to redo it again so you guys could read it in the back. But then Scott stepped forward and did all of this. George, so that looked a lot better?
Yes.
Okay, so that's great.
George, your microphone. Is it on?
Got it on. Thank you. And then I added a couple of words in here because we needed to look at duality. If we're talking about oneness, and duality is the opposite of that, which will lead into fear and ego. And we're talking about new thought, then we put in new age. What does that mean exactly, other than what we've been taught it meant during that time? So I talked about oneness already a few times before Thanksgiving, and then we had Thanksgiving and talking about gratitude, which is on this list as well. And you'll find as I'm going through here that it's not always going to stay this one and then this one and this one, because they kind of combine together, as is oneness of everything. So today we're going to actually connect to ascension as we talk about, and the word consciousness I decided to put down here before oneness, because I realized it takes consciousness to create everything in our life. And so before we understand about oneness, we need to raise our consciousness up. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more today. And I just...
Can you maybe just stand back just a minute?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, good question, or thanks for asking.
Well, Bonnie could stand.
No,
Move it together, maybe.
No, I just moved it a little ways, but,
Yep. I can hold it if you want.
okay.
you could be Vanna.
The letter C. Anyway, I want to remind you as we go on it, these are just words, right? We all have our own understanding of what words means, and probably if I picked one of these and said it, there'd be, each one of you would have a different understanding of it. So that's kind of what this conversation is about as time goes by, about getting some deeper understanding and raising our consciousness up. And remembering they're just words. We as humans put meaning into them. So the beginning of this past year, I gave a talk about consciousness and what it means. So I want to remind you, as defined by Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, says, consciousness is the sense of awareness, of knowing, the knowledge of any idea, object, or condition. Consciousness is the sum total of all ideas accumulated in and affecting man's being. It includes all that man is aware of, spirit, soul, and body. So spiritual consciousness means it's the realization that within us is the substance that all that appears in our world, meaning everything comes from how we think and our consciousness. Everything that you have beliefs about, every thought that you've had, every experience that you've had in your life has affected your consciousness. Everything. Even in your body. The cells of our bodies have consciousness because they communicate to one another. They talk to one another. They're intelligent. And so when we stuff stuff into our body, which is the body of communication, we are affecting our consciousness unless it's coming here and raising our awareness of what words mean, how we live our lives, based contrary to normally what the world wants to teach us. So I want to remind you that it's impossible to change a three-dimensional effect, something that we create out there, with a human or material consciousness. At the basis of everything is spirituality, so that's where we want to go to. If we've got problems going on, we need to change our thinking. We need to change our consciousness. We need to go back to our spiritual roots inside. And so that's why we have the word consciousness first. Let's see if it sits by itself now. There you go. So you can sit down and thank you. Because human consciousness is composed of a lot of beliefs, personal beliefs. Each of us grew up in different childhoods, different events that happened, and so that's why we look at things differently. We have our own personal connection. And then on top of that, we have the race mind beliefs, which is when we join together with a group of people and we start putting out the same thoughts. That's why we have so many groups in our world. People come together. This is a group. We come together. It's a family because we have similar thoughts. And there are other groups out in the world that do the same thing. But the truth is, those beliefs are not always truth. right? We've learned some things from society or from our parents or from other people that may not be the higher truth, which is what we're here to learn. So since we all, as divine beings, have the power to form and manifest whatever is a part of our consciousness, meaning we can be aware of our thoughts and what effect they have on the world. If we have the power to do that, then we have the power to change our consciousness. As Science of Mind says, we want to change our thoughts and change our life. That's what New Thought is about. So we have the power to do that. And that means that you might have heard there are some people who have a higher level of consciousness and they create or demonstrate things in their life, which is another word I want to put up here, is demonstration. That is what comes from our thoughts. We get to create our lives, which is a demonstration. What do I want in my life? And how can I create it? By changing my thinking. So some people, we can say, oh, they have a high level of consciousness. Look at how they're creating their life. They're demonstrating it. And then there are others that have a lower level of consciousness. And neither one of them is right or wrong. It's just the way it is. Because all of that is based upon each individual's understanding of spirit, soul, and body, as I stated in the definition. What does that mean to me? And we've got those words up there, spirit and soul too, that we'll be talking about. So, we as the family of fellowship come here and we work on increasing our spiritual consciousness through the talks, through the thing that Kate shared today. Changing our thinking about something, that we are loved beings, that we deserve to have all that God wants to give us. And even though we sometimes trip on the path walking around, or it feels like the water's rising up, or things are happening to us, we have the power inside to change that at any moment that we can. We don't have to get stuck in it. We could just say, okay, it's a temporary situation happening that's affecting me. Do I really want to let it take me over? Or do I want to just change my thinking about it and not judge it? That's maybe one of the things we need to let go of, is judgment about ourselves and everything that happens. So, going over these words is going to help us raise our consciousness between now and the time that we get through with it, believe me, because you'll get some deeper understanding. And knowing that, as I said earlier, we are here to understand the greater truth. The word that comes from God that says, we are all one. You are made in my image and likeness. Wow, that's pretty powerful to know the truth of who we are. So, what else can we learn about consciousness leading to oneness? Well, there's a theme that I've used in this service quite often, and it was the theme of the Ministers Development Conference we had 3 years ago, those of you who were part of it. Anybody remember what it was?
See as God sees, love as God loves.
To see as God sees, to know as God knows, and to love as God loves. That's oneness right there. And that's consciousness. I mean, to have that consciousness that that's what I'm here to do and to be, is to see as God sees, meaning I open myself up. God is within me, not out there. God is here. And I get to see the same way. I get to be part of God's mind. How powerful is that? Then, I want to remind you of the theme that your Spirit chose for this year, which I haven't mentioned lately, but that is, where thou art, I am. Where I am, thou art, for I am that I am. So we have the I am up here. Again, we're talking about higher consciousness, knowing that I am not separate. Neither one of us are separate from source, from God. We are all one. That's higher consciousness. That's oneness. So, as I go through examples or stories that may come up for me to share with you as we go through all these words, just know that they're there to raise your consciousness and help each and every one of you connect to the greater truth. And understand that these words outside of our human understanding come from a deeper place than how the world normally understands them. And how blessed that we get to be here to do that, to understand these words in a different way. So it's time to raise our consciousness to divine love. That's why we put love at the top. And we go through all of this to understand this deep love, not human love, but this deep love from God that is so magnificent, that is so unconditional. What a powerful word that is too, to know that I am loved, you are all loved unconditionally. So there are two examples that I want to share with you today around this theme of consciousness and oneness. And I'm going to go back up here. The first one, I have talked a lot about how energy comes in all the time. When we have full moons, when we have other things that happen in the celestial skies, it's bringing energy into us. And there's a lot of energy that's coming our way right now that's leading us to the ascension process. Remember I said I was going to connect to the word ascension up there. So we have reached another moment of attainment in our lives right now. There are energies out there that are abundantly available for us to claim, to allow us to step into our fully manifested power. And one of them is this month of December. Always it becomes a powerful month because we go through Thanksgiving, which is gratitude and thanksgiving, and then we move through December and we move to rebirthing at Christmas time, and then we move into the new year, which is celebrating a new year. And what's going on with us? So we look back at the past year. What did we harvest? What thoughts did we have? What sort of things did we do for ourselves or other people? What ways of service were we during the year that are now going to bloom up for us? So this month of December is birthing forward the energy of a full moon Mercury retrograde that goes stationary today. And for those that don't know what that means, is in astrological terms, when a planet goes retrograde, it's going backwards, meaning we're going back through the same energies but in a different direction. So usually what happens when Mercury goes retrograde is that this is not the time to sign contracts, or communication gets messed up a lot, so we have to be aware of that because it's affected us. Once it gets to where it's going, then it turns around and comes back the same way, and we get to experience it even stronger when it's coming back through. So that started today, and we actually entered a pre-phase of this journey in mid-November. And so probably there was a lot of experiences that we may have gone through in mid-November of confusion and miscommunication in our relationships, because November was a lot of confusion going on as well. So there's going to be a greater sense of relief happening right now if any of you guys remember that you already went through that in November. So,
Can I ask a question?
yes. Well, can you wait till
When does the Mercury retrograde period end?
in about a month?
Okay, thank you.
I think it's the 23rd, George.
Is it? I thought it was pretty close to Christmas time. Well, the full moon was out. Did anybody see the full moon last night? How beautiful it looked. So we got energy from that as well. It's gracing us this weekend. And Mercury is going in this retrograde position through its full ride through the month of December. So what that means is this is a very blessed moment, this energy that's coming in for us that are ready to open our eyes and see what's happening. And because of that, it's time to pay attention to this chakra right here. No, this chakra right here, the sixth chakra, which is the third eye, because it's how we see. It's how we raise our consciousness. We don't just see through our eyes, we see through every part of ourselves, but especially through the third eye chakra. And so these are some questions you might ask yourself. What are you noticing during this month? What are you seeing? What's being revealed to you in your own life during this month? I want you to remember those two questions because it's time to trust yourself with what's going on. Thank you. The third eye or the sixth chakra will be expanding this month as it gains strength from other areas of our life experience. And so how you see your life happening. Thank you, Steve. That's better. That's going to hold. We got to be aware during this month of how we're seeing things through this eye, through these eyes, through our consciousness. It's very important, beloveds, to stay awake because we're getting ready for something happening at the end of the month of December that's very important. And starting a new year, really to get ourselves ready for 2018. So this is a time to recognize that every being on this planet is gaining momentum and insights for their own soul's evolution. That's why we're here, for our soul to evolve. And it's for those of you that choose to open up your eyes and expand beyond these limits of illusion, you can experience remembrance of things from the past because it's part of the consciousness, reimagining something new, recreating through your own awareness. So it's a very powerful month for us to recreate our lives. And we've been building it very powerfully during this moment. So it's a wonderful time to review your past year, get clear on where you're going to be on December the 31st, and get ready for rebirth in this month, which is what Christmas is about. And also, the energy that's coming out is for everyone to get a head start on their New Year's resolutions before December the 22nd, to get ready for that. What is it that I want to experience? What have I been experiencing during this past year? What did I harvest? Remember, I talked about the harvest before. What's been going on with me, and the insight and the awareness that I've been receiving? How do I want to take that into deeper and stronger commitments for the following year? That's why we need to look at that. So if you gift yourself with this energy, just a few minutes a day, just to look inside and go, I am one with the Christ, I'm one with God, this energy is coming in from me, I'm growing in myself, my awareness is growing. Take some time, beloveds, to do that. And you will dance through this month and recreate your resurrected awareness, or the life of your dreams. Would that be a good thing? To start creating more of our lives of what it is that we want. The time is here for a lot of things. So, the last thing is, I want to say that this is spiritual wellness. This is the recognition that you are worth it. It's a blessing and a remembering of who you are in this physical body. It's time to honestly ask yourself, am I really calling forth this spiritual awareness? Am I opening myself up to all that I can receive this month? If not, why not? And that's when you start looking with your third eye and get some clarity on what's going around you. So this gift of spiritual wellness will be an opportunity for all of us to unify all the gifts that we have inside, all the ones that we've had laying dormant that are coming alive, all of those that we harvested during this last fall, leading us to now, which is called the December blessing of resurrected awareness. So, if we begin to remember ourselves, which is why I'm giving you this talk, remember the truth about who we are, the oneness of who we are, all of these words that I put, the divine being that we are inside. It's going to help us with this energy that's coming in. And so we want to know that we are the master in form. We are a master living in this physical body. We are not less than. We are not weak or any of those other things, or fear. I mean, all that is fear. We are a master. God created our soul, came down in physical form to learn how to live in love and oneness. And we have more opportunity during this month to know that. So, I would state to you that may your heart know that you are a divine master, and remember during this month who you are. Who are you, Jenny?
I'm God.
Steve?
Divine master.
Okay. Don? Who are you?
I'm a Steve, I'm a divine master.
Good. One more. Linda? Yes, you do.
Okay, the divine master.
See?
Yes, you are.
Each of us are that divine master inside. We are the I am that I am. We are one with God because God is right here. So, that was part one. The second part I want to go to as far as oneness and consciousness is to go a little bit further with what I talked about last week and the divine feminine. Outer world events that are going on right now indicate that the feminine polarity of God within us is surfacing in powerful and profound ways. It is at long last occurring through the mass consciousness of humanity. And it's time to share this truth through various voices and perspectives to help us all grab the magnitude of what this energy is all about and how we can learn to allow the divine feminine to come within us. It's time to ignite the truth and the power of the divine feminine within. And by doing that is going to bring these energies to us: divine grace, joy, and peace in our life. Would people like that? Okay, and that the rise of the divine feminine has begun. And any time something is coming to the surface, all of that which is contrary to that, the darkness of it, has to rise first. And that's what we're experiencing right now. With this energy, it's powerfully time to step into your soul purpose once and for all, so that each of you can make a greater contribution to the world. That's what our divine feminine is going to help us do. We've been holding it back too long. So the wait is now over. We hear all these stories that are going on right now about men in power abusing women. That's what I'm saying. That's why the divine feminine is coming up. It's time to wake us all up and to say that we are not separate from one another. We are one with God within us and each other. And remind you that I took this vow as a minister of spiritual peacemaking to hold the divine feminine in my heart until it was ready to give her back to the world. Well, it's ready to give her to the world. That's what I'm intending on doing as the minister here. And I want all of you to do that too, to really get in touch, especially the women, to get in touch with the divine feminine inside and start allowing it out more. And the men here to support the women in that, because once that happens, the divine feminine arises more. It brings the divine masculine with it. And all of us have both the feminine and the masculine within it. So we want to experience both of that, but especially looking at, as we do here in our world, in form, that women are the feminine and men are the masculine, to really bring that up into more balance. So we can look at Mary as the mother of Jesus, as the holder of the divine feminine. And she has held this from the beginning when Jesus said to John, "Take my mother into your home and take care of her." And at that time they started the community of the beloved disciple, which was the feminine aspect of what was started by Peter, which was the masculine aspect of Christianity. And so during this time, what's gone over life is that a lot of the typical male masculine energy has been in this place of control. We've put women down, and of course women have allowed themselves to do that. Men have made decisions at work because the mind was looked at as the powerful organ, how you think about things, instead of looking at the heart, which is what we want to open up now. The feminine is in the heart, and love and peace. So women are finding a way to speak their self, find their voice and speak what it is they want, and men need to listen to that. And we could do that by all stepping forward and claiming this love for each and every one of us. So, last week I said there was some information I wanted to share with you, and I forgot to bring it with me, but I have it now. This came to me a number of years ago, and it's just fitting right now with what's going on. It's called Relating from the Soul. In the past, instead of admitting the fear of loving an equal, men had to put down the woman. Instead of admitting fear of loving an equal and experiencing the pleasure of sexuality, woman had to alienate herself by making him the enemy. Instead of admitting that he feared an equal relationship, man had to make woman an object. And instead of admitting the fear of self-responsibility on all levels, woman made herself an object and blamed man for the mutual creation. So, from now on, instead of expecting your partner to make you whole, you have to learn how to do that yourself first so that you can be whole to support the other person in being whole for them too. And one of the strongest ways to do this, beloved ones, is to express your fear of being open. We all have fear of intimacy, to be open to one another, to create a mutually satisfying partnership, of loving an equal and experiencing the pleasure of that. So taking these steps will help once we move past the fear. And as I do with my clients, I say the fears are very important. You've got to look at them, talk about them, be aware that they're there so that you can release them and go to what you want. And this is what we want in the future. The woman to combine her independence, self-responsibility, full-fledged adulthood with the softness and the yieldness that was previously associated with the dependent. The man to combine his heart feeling, his softness, his gentleness with his strength and abilities, not in a way similar to the woman, but complementary. Then they are both whole in a relationship and can make a whole relationship. How does that sound? So this is all part of our raising our consciousness to the higher truth. Looking at the energies that are coming in right now, both for this month of December that I talked about, opening up to the truth of who we are, and opening up to the energies of the divine feminine side. And remember, as my third vow said, it is time to give her back to the world. It is so exciting to know the time is now for this love of the divine feminine to come into each and every one of us and raise up the energy of this world to love and peace and God's abundance. That's what the time was for. So, namaste.